Hey, Alex from Boarding & Co over here, and this is take 2 of my video because apparently I filmed the entire video with my mic off, so yay me. But anyways, this is an update video to 2 Kickstarters, specifically Kemet Blood and Sand and CMON Comics. Now the focus here is primarily going to be Kemet Blood and Sand because they had a huge update with a lot of controversy attached, but let me start first with CMON Comics because that's quick and easy. CMON Comics is sticking with their whole, this is a comic book campaign. They are not doing a ton of other gameplay outside the promos and whatnot. I had originally hoped this would be more akin to to Blood Rage Digital, where they had a bunch of gameplay stuff, but in the end they are really just focusing on promos and giving you more comics as optional buys. They so far have Starcadia Quest as an optional buy, and now they have Rising Sun. I will be getting the Rising Sun one because I have the game already, and the extras that they are giving I don't know if I want them to the tune of $20, but I am justifying this a bit because my son's favorite game to play with is Rising Sun, in terms of not play the way I play or the way you play, but to play with the miniatures. He loves anything to do with ninjas, feudal Japan. He's very into that stuff, and he's in the middle of learning to read. So I figure this is the actual, this is the comic from all the comics being given that I can most justify, because he probably would actually read it. So that's part of my own justification. It's very possible that the promos alone are worth it, but there are no miniatures. I'm a miniature fan. I'm a sucker for all the miniature content they put out. And this is just a bunch of cards, which are both a set of season cards, as well as some cards for the variants of the game. I probably would use the season cards. I don't know if I'd actually get around to the variant cards. It's not like I play Rising Sun enough for that. Now with that out of the way, let's go into Kemet Blood and Sand, because Kemet Blood and Sand had a huge Cthulhu update. Huge Cthulhu, there we go. And yes, it is a Cthulhu update. They are bringing Cthulhu to Egypt. And I sadly am canceling my pledge. And I'm going to go into why here, because I've seen a lot of people ask the question, okay, I get it, you don't like the expansion, why are you canceling your pledge? And that's a reasonable question, to which I have my own answer, as well as I also think I can answer why other people are as well, at least to some extent. But before we get into that, let's talk about the actual expansion. The expansion, as you can see over here, brings Cthulhu into ancient Egypt with these miniatures. Now let me go back to that artwork for a second, because I will say, despite the fact that I'm canceling my pledge, I think this is a gorgeous piece of artwork. I think it's absolutely amazing. If this is the artwork alone, I'd honestly hang this on my wall. I think it's a gorgeous piece. As far as the expansion itself, sadly, I can't say I feel the same level of how gorgeous it is. I think this is a fine Cthulhu mini, but I don't like it in ancient Egypt. For myself, I really genuinely do not like mixing genres at all. I have never understood fan fiction where Doctor Who, goes into the Harry Potter universe, or Ultron suddenly starts getting attacked by Darth Vader or whatever. I have never understood the crossing of genres, and while I'll admit that Cthulhu in Egypt is not as bad as some of the ones I just mentioned, it's pretty close for me. And I have no problem with Cthulhu, to be clear. I have no problem. Cthulhu Death May Die, I've talked about in a lot of content. One of my favorite games. Arkham Horror, the card game, thoroughly enjoy. I think that's it for the games I own, but I've played basically every Cthulhu game, or all the major ones, and I have no problem with the mythos in general. Some games I like more than others, but certainly not something I have a problem with. I just think it has a time and a place. And I don't think the time was here, and I don't think the place was now. Or, I don't think the place was here, and I don't think the time was now. Confusing my places and times. I personally am not a fan of mixing genres at all. And seemingly, based on the overwhelmingly negative feedback this has been receiving, nor are other people interested in that. There are, to be clear, there are people who are interested. There are people who are excited. There are people who said that they weren't backing before, they are backing now. So there definitely is a section of people who are happy about this. I am not speaking for everyone. I am speaking for myself and commenting that for the most part it seems that the feedback is negative, unfortunately. Part of the reason why I'm canceling my pledge, I would say the main reason why I'm canceling my pledge, because why not just not back the expansion? People have asked that in the comments. I get that you don't like it, just don't get the expansion. So for others, this is not my reason, to be clear, but for others, I think it's an incredibly valid reason that people have FOMO. People want all or nothing. People want to get all the stuff. And as soon as you can't get all the stuff, because as soon as an expansion is that much of a turnoff for you, well, guess what? There's another valid option out there, and it's called Kemet and Kemet Tasadi. Go ahead and get those. You can enjoy it right now. If you like what you see with those expansions, then great. You should back those. You should buy those games, and now you have everything you need, and you don't have to worry about Kemet Cthulhu. For myself, that's not a problem, honestly, because I can tell you that I didn't enjoy the Seth expansion and I got rid of it. I don't have that. While I do want everything when I want everything, if something doesn't appeal to me, I don't have to get it. I love Rise of Moloch and I didn't get that Kingdom Death Monster crossover. I'm fine dropping something that I don't care about. But I think it's valid for someone to say, I kind of want it all, and the fact that I can't get it all means I don't need to get it all. I can go get regular Kemet. It is a little irrational, to be clear, but at the same time, people often act irrationally. I get the emotional aspect to gaming. I do. So that is why for other people it might be a reason. For myself, it really comes down to the fact that Kemet Cthulhu makes me really question the entire process and the entire design process of Blood and Sand. Now, as a starting point before I get into what I mean by that, understand that I was someone already on the fence about Kemet Blood and Sand. If you watched my first video, I'll link to that. I was interested, I was intrigued, I love Kemet, I love the game, and so I wanted to have a reason to back this game, and for me that stretch goal content is going to be the reason, but I was on the fence. I have regular Kemet. I have Kemet and Tassadi already. I thoroughly enjoy them. I prefer the pyramids in Blood and Sand, but I'm fine with the dice in regular Kemet. In terms of the art design, while I don't think Blood and Sand is bad, I slightly preferred the poppiness of the original Kemet in terms of the flatness of Blood and Sand, so I have a slight preference for the original, meaning I already have every reason not to back Blood and Sand. And so that also makes it significantly easier to drop my entire pledge when something like Kemet Cthulhu happens. Now, as far as what do I mean when I say it calls into doubt the design process, nobody releases an expansion that they don't think will be well received. Nobody. That would be crazy. Why would you sit there and put together an expansion that you know people won't like? That would be absolute insanity. And that means that people who were responsible for the design of this expansion and the design of the game thought this would be overwhelmingly positively received by their audience. And that to me is such a huge disconnect from what is actually happening. It's a huge disconnect to what I would have thought. It's a huge disconnect to the reality of the situation that it forces me to question what other design choices did they make that also represent that huge disconnect. What other design choices were involved in, whether there are rules tweaks, whether they were the art choices, the miniature choices, what other design decisions in this game did they make that also come from whatever it was that contributed to that disconnect? It tells me that the designers of the game are no longer on the same page as the fans of the game. And I say this with the greatest sympathy, with the greatest respect, because I love Kemet. I love this trilogy of games, Kemet, Cyclades, and Innis. I absolutely love them. I will be a fan of Matago for every game they put out. Every game Matago ever puts out will be on my radar because of Kemet, Cyclades, and Innis. Every Kickstarter they put out will be on my radar because of Kemet, Cyclades, and Innis. It doesn't mean I have to like all their games, doesn't mean I have to back all their games, but they have done enough for myself, for the gaming community in general, that I am incredibly grateful, incredibly appreciative, and the goal of this video is not to dump over somebody else's work. Blood, sweat, and tears go into the design process, and I feel bad that the result of that design process right now is this level of dissatisfaction from customers. And I do feel bad. At the same time, as long as it's delivered respectfully, feedback is an important part of that process as well, and it does sadden me to see that the response so far has been a reaffirmation, a statement again and again in response to people's comments that no changes will be made. There will be no retheming of this expansion. It is what it is. It is locked in. Kemet Blood and Sands is the product of player feedback. It is a retheming of a game. It is a redesign of a game that exists because of the concept of player feedback. And to then dismiss that player feedback so out of hand with such a firm, hand on the table, done, it's over, this is fixed, is to me so counterintuitive because the entire Kickstarter is the product of player feedback. It is the product of iterations on your original game, and you are now discounting that player feedback now. And you're taking a firm, hard line of we will not change it, which to me is baffling. I understand it would be hard to change. I understand it would be problematic. I understand that you'd be throwing a lot of time and energy out the door. But you're not getting the level of response you want with this one, so it might be something that's worth considering. And again, this campaign has been a critical success. I want to be very clear about that. People love this game. You're at, what are you at now? You're at 500,000 so far. I still think that's going to hit close to 1 million. It might be a little harder now with this expansion, unfortunately, but I still think it's going to, easily hit over 700,000, probably over 800,000. This campaign was a great success. I am happy for you guys. I am happy for the success you have. I am happy for everyone who gets this game and gets to play Kemet. For myself, a Cthulhu expansion and an Egyptian mythology was enough to push me over the edge, and not just not get this one, but rather to push me over the edge and question what other changes are there that I won't like. To be clear, I fully plan on picking up this game eventually. When it hits retail, secondhand market, and trading, one way or another, I will probably get this game, unless the overall feedback once it hits is that it is worse. In which case I won't get it, obviously. But if people seem to like it, I will get it eventually. But for right now, I'm dropping my pledge because I was already on the fence, and this very much pushed me over the fence, just not the way I thought it was. When they announced the green pyramid tiles and whatnot, I was super excited. I had my whole own thing about how it's going to be around, about how I thought it would be a good idea to have it around the environmental aspect. All your troops next to the river earn you 1 Ankh. All your troops next to the river have +1 attack. All your troops can now move, from obelisk to whatever it is. I thought it'd be all around the movement of the board. If you're on these types of spaces, if you're on the edge, if you do that, I thought it'd be a great idea for a green-based expansion, all nature and whatnot. And I still think it's a great idea, by the way. If somebody wants to print up 16 power tiles and put together some sort of print and play and test it out, send me a link, because I'm super interested in that concept. I think it's a great concept for a separate branch of power tiles. But in terms of Cthulhu, it jumped the shark for me. I sadly am out of this campaign. I wish everyone at Matago the best, all the best. I will be keeping an eye on the campaign over the next 14 days if things change. If players' feedback is taken into account, I probably will be back in. I'm still on the line, by the way. Just to be clear, this is not like, oh my gosh, everyone should cancel. People should have fun. People should enjoy. If you don't have Kemet already, this is a good back. This is a good game to get. For me, I was over the fence. I was like, if the line's over here, I was over here. And this pushed me just over here. So I just need a little bit more to get back in. But for right now, I sadly am out. I wish you guys all the best, both Matago as well as all my viewers and whatnot. What are your thoughts on the expansion? Are you backing it? Are you more excited? Are you less excited? Let me know in the comments down below. This is my own opinion. Just, my own opinion. I know a lot of people are upset. I know a lot of people are happy. So I'm always interested in what your opinion is. Let me know. And until next time, I'm Alex.